You know, these NBC games get me sometimes because if it's not on NBC Sports Philadelphia, I think it's on Facebook. And if it's on Facebook, I don't want to watch the Phillies game. And thank God the Phillies game was on Facebook yesterday afternoon. 24-4. Ew. Kyle Gaffner is here. I am Adrian. Thank you. So we're going to talk about the bats right now and kind of the moves that the Phillies have made since the trade deadline, post-trade deadline. And let's bring on Kyle right now. What's up, brother?
What's up? How you doing, man? Yeah, I honestly am with you with the whole transition. Like, the Phillies are trying to implement and put their games on Facebook. And I know the future might hold that for us, that we're going to be broadcasting stuff like that on Amazon, like Amazon Prime and Facebook, because they're trying to get into that outlet. Because the days of paying all the cable companies all that money, it's in the past. And I do hate that, dude, because it's not displayed as well. It sucks. But that looked like a football score yesterday. 24 freaking runs. I mean, we did have two position players going in there pitch. But, God, it was bad, bro. It was bad.
24 runs given up. You know, that does a lot to the run differential, you know. Yeah. So they went down to like minus, or I think they're at plus 13 or something like right now. So it did a number. It did damage.
It was brutal, dude. Like, you know, a moment there, Mark Leiter gave up 7 unearned runs. 7 within an inning pitch. I think he set a record with a guy from like 91, I believe. It was that long before that freaking happened. And then, you know, Kingery did the same thing with letting up a run but hitting up a home run in a doubleheader. So I guess we're good in that category a little bit.
You know, it's funny that the Mets scored 24 runs because I'm here down the shore. I'm here on the second floor here at my uncle's place. My uncle is, you know, kind of on the older side. He's a historian. And he's like, yeah, you know, Adrian, I remember the time when the Phillies and the Cubs, it was 23-22. Well, guess what? The Phillies wouldn't even have won yesterday with 23 runs.
How pathetic is that, man? You put up that kind of – and I wondered the other day, what is the most runs ever scored in a baseball game? I think it was like 27 maybe, or is it higher than that?
Let's see if I can do a quick Google search.
Because I was like real curious to see what the record was for most runs scored in a baseball game. It's got to be up there.
Yeah.
I know 24 isn't the highest.
Let's see. Well, Bleacher Report has a little something here. I don't know if I trust it. I don't know if this is based on actual fact or based on opinion. All right. Well, I'm seeing a 26-23 Cubs over the Phillies in 1922.
Holy crap.
I want to see how many, like, the most scored by one team.
Yeah, by one team. I swore it was possibly 27, but not to make the Phillies feel bad. Within the last 2 games, the Mets had scored 42 runs. So the game before that, they jacked up close to 20 runs as well. I think it was against Pittsburgh. So they had about 42 hits in 2 games. So the bats are hot for the Mets right now, even though they are like a bottomless pit of a team.
Yeah. 36 by the Cubs. But this is in 1897, so, like, that doesn't count.
Nah, we can't consider that. There was, like, 5 teams.
That's the dead ball era.
Yeah, we can't consider that. Like, anything relevant in the 70s at least, or?
Well, that's all right. Well, anyway, this wasn't even part of what was supposed
I know. We're going.
Anyway, all right, so let's get to what I wanted to talk about and get into the show. You know, the trade deadline happened. We all wanted Manny Machado. It didn't happen. But let's also rewind back to 10 years ago, 2008 Phillies. During that trade deadline, leading into July, the hot name was CC Sabathia. Well, the Phillies didn't go after CC Sabathia. They instead went after a couple lower-tier guys like Joe Blanton, like Jeff Jenkins, like Matt Stairs. And these were the guys that were pretty instrumental in the Phillies winning a World Series. Remember Jenkins in Game 5 of the World Series? Matt Stairs, the moonshot. Joe Blanton hit a home run in the World Series. And now we see in 2018 the Phillies making a couple interesting little splashes. You bring in Asdrubal Cabrera, you bring in Justin Bour, you bring in Wilson Ramos to try and ramp up this lineup, which has been kind of just not there yet this year. It's been meh. I've been waiting. I've been waiting for the spark. I've been waiting, and it hasn't happened yet. Well, maybe these additions will finally bolster this lineup, and hey, maybe they can make a run at this thing. Rhys Hoskins now batting cleanup too, which is interesting too, which is good.
And I also remember we got Scott Eyre during that trade deadline.
Yes.
But it's always the key little pieces because we had the foundation there. We had the stars. We had Utley, Rollins, Big Howard, the big piece. So you look at this young core that we have now. None of them really stand out as superstars just yet, Adrian, but we're getting those small little splashes, like you said, those key pieces that you need to build a championship squad. You get a nice bat bench with Justin Bour, who could possibly switch in between with Santana because he's struggling right at the moment. It's nice, though, because you have that option to have a nice power bat come off. And then Wilson Ramos, great pickup. I loved him when he was with the Nationals. Awesome player. I mean, he was killing it down there in Tampa Bay. He knows how to control a pitching staff. And they're a little bit seasoned, to help these younger guys get acclimated, to show them their winning ways and teach them a few things because they've been in the league for a little bit. So it's not you. Whenever you make those big splashes, I feel like you never see teams go and win the championship after that. In baseball, I should say. You never see like, oh, they just acquire, Albert Pujols. They're going to go all the way to the championship and win it. It never really happens like that where you get those big splashes. They tried when you mentioned CC Sabathia. When Milwaukee went for it, they had a really nice foundation back then. They needed a big pitcher. They landed them, and what happened? We knocked them out. Because remember when Brett Myers' baby was up at the plate, bases juiced, and he had like one of the greatest at-bats that I can remember? That was dope, bro.
And then Victorino with the bomb, and everybody exploded. Everybody did. And that's the thing, man. Like, a lot of these starting pitchers, it seems like, well, Justin Verlander was obviously a big get last year for the Astros, but I've seen this where you'll see a guy like Sabathia who'll only make like a start or two, and then you're gone. Lester, I remember the A's acquired him, and he only pitched in the wild card game. He didn't pitch well, and then the A's were out. It was it for Lester. So sometimes we see this where if you go get a big pitcher and he's only making one start and he doesn't start well, all of a sudden that trade was kind of for naught. All right. Anyway, I wanted to move on to Rhys Hoskins because Rhys Hoskins obviously been heating up. So since the All-Star break, he's hit 11 home runs in 26 games. He hit 14 home runs in 86 games over the first half. So you can see right there that the power is coming. And now that it seems like Gabe is going to maybe put him in the cleanup role a little bit more. He was batting 2 tonight, though, right?
He was batting 2 tonight because Wilson is not playing.
Yeah, okay. So we're batting 2 tonight. But the slash for Reese since the All-Star break, 268, 377, 680. That slugging percentage up since the first half. And then the other interesting number is this. So first 86 games, 141 total bases. Since the second half, 66 total bases already. So nearly half, and it's only 26 games as opposed to 86.
And we still got 41 games left to play, Adrian, and he's heating up right at the right time. Because this offense has struggled mightily, we really need Reese to put this team on his back. And, you asking a lot for a young guy that's only been in the league for what? I would say a season and a half almost. So he's been outstanding. The best thing that ever happened to him was breaking his jaw, though. He was struggling so much early on in the year. He struggled then in spring training. But he's just really caught fire. He's seeing pitchers really well. He's working counts. He's just staying in there. And you got to give him credit because after a guy gets pegged in the face, you're a little scared, of course. But this guy's a solid rock there on the right side of the plate. Doesn't shy off from any balls coming in at him. So it's just everything's in his wheelhouse right now. There is really no pitch that he's struggling with, Adrian. He's seeing fastballs, curve, sliders, everything. He's jacking them. That bomb he hit last night. Beautiful. Yeah.
And the strikeouts are down as well. 93 in those 86 games over the first half, 18 since the second half break has started. So the eye discipline has been better, as you kind of explained there. All right, so that's the key, though, with Rhys Hoskins is to the lineup is Rhys Hoskins. So if this lineup does start to kind of finally live up to its potential, it starts with Rhys, and maybe the trick trickle-down effect will follow. Whereas Nick Williams looks great. You know, he's been a guy that's been solid for the Phillies this year. But these additions, all of a sudden, the lineup is deeper. Now, all of a sudden, you're like 1 through 7, 1 through 8 deep instead of being 1 through 5, 1 through 6 deep.
Yeah, because of Alfaro's struggles and Andrew Knapp, with him switching off, really wasn't doing anything. So you weren't getting anything out of the catcher's position. You bring in Wilson Ramos, who's not going to have 42 pass balls like Alfaro had. He's just really struggling defensively, but also at the plate too. I mean, Wilson's got 50. Well, I think he's up to 58 ribbies now, 14 bombs. He's got power to all fields. And he knows how to control a pitching staff, something that I'm hoping Alfaro can learn from him, but maybe sitting back, kind of like what happened with Reese. He got to sit out a little while and learn. Hopefully the same thing can happen with Alfaro. I can see in each game that he is getting better with how to pancake balls instead of – because if you see on sliders and curves a lot, he doesn't pancake them. He has his glove down as opposed to having it up. You're supposed to have it up so if it bounces off your chest protecting. You know what I mean? So there's that there. And you look at another position we struggled at with shortstop because Kingery, God, dude, his on-base percentage was like 270. He was striking out a lot, 0-2. He just wasn't seeing balls well. And then you trade for Asdrubal Cabrera, which I still wasn't a really big fan of, but the guy has power to all fields. You lose a little bit defensively, but he can really put the ball in play.
Yeah, and the Cabrera trade I think looks better now because of the other pieces. So you got additional foundations instead of just Cabrera. So it's like if they would have just made the Cabrera move, I would have been ew, really? Like that's how they're going to improve their lineup, just adding Asdrubal Cabrera. But it wasn't just adding him; it was adding Bohr, adding obviously. So there you go. So you add Pop, you add a little bit of everything, a little bit.
And we might be in play for Adam Jones out here still, too. So it looks like they're still trying to add additional depth into the outfield as well.
Yeah, and, I wouldn't be worried about his struggles because he's in Baltimore, and who cares?
Exactly, just like Justin Bohr has struggled in Miami. But when you consistently aren't playing for a pennant, it's like you get a little lackadaisical. That happens. If it's just like me or you, if we're stuck in a dead-end job, it's like you're not going to be passionate about going in every day.
Complacency sets in.
Exactly, complacency.
Yes. Well, you're not going to be complacent when you're playing for a division and a pennant. So there you go, and that's why adding somebody like that would be awesome if they're able to do it. All right, so there you go. All right, let's see comments. Will the lineup turn around? I guess that's the ultimate question.
With Gabe switching it up, which I think he has, you remember Charlie Manuel used to do this all the time. You had your positions that never really move. Howard, obviously, at cleanup, and then he would flip it in between with the speedsters up at the top with Victorino. But he would move Worth and Burrell all throughout the lineup, and I think that's what you're starting to see. He's flirting with the lineup now. I don't think he's going to bat number 2 all the time. Maybe he puts him in the 6 hole. But Reese might be a standpoint where he's going to be the cleanup hitter for the rest of the year, especially with how hot he's hitting.
Yeah, absolutely. He's hitting bombs, which is awesome. All right, so I'm trying to find the chat, see if we got any questions from Bitterbird's universe here. The internet connection here is not the best, so hang with me here.
And what's cool too is I think
universe. All right, here we go.
Roman Quinn as well has really added some dimension to this team, some depth, because you know what they're starting to do with their struggles that we haven't seen with the Phillies is they're starting to steal a lot of bags now. Reminiscent of that 08, 09, 2010 Phillies. What did we do? Great. Along with that potent offense, you steal bags because when you're not hitting, you gotta generate runs somehow. So by stealing bases, and we were one of the teams, one of the lowest in the league, not by stealing bases. We weren't doing it at all.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Sean Fitzpatrick has a question. What was worse, the Eagles' performance or the Phillies in Game 1? Definitely the Phillies because preseason doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, who cares about preseason? It don't matter. I had all these Pats fans, going off, sounding off like, yeah, that's right, we got you. The Super Bowl don't mean anything, and da-da-da-da-da. So I don't know what fantasy land they're living in.
Yeah.
It's preseason, bro.
What's good, brother? Says UCF Jaguar. Shout out to him, my man. 3-card Monty wants to bring Charlie back because Gabe Kapler. Oh, Gabe Krapler sucks. Sorry, I mispronounced.
Gabe Krapler. I don't know about that. I think Gabe Kapler's done a great job with this team.
Yeah. We will wake up 3-0 start tonight. Yeah, I think they're going to get into a groove. I think these additions is going to help out in the long run.
You just got to build off of what we've done last night, which hopefully they can.
Yeah.
You got to be able to beat teams like the Padres, like Miami, to be able to get into the playoffs. Because you look at what they did against the Red Sox, the best team in baseball, and they hung with them. But when you're losing to the Padres, dude, I mean, that's just pathetic. Like, I don't know if they're laying down to their competition or it's something mental. I don't understand
it. They struggle on the road, like, against these poor teams. They just do, kind of, you know?
Yeah.
They lost 2 of 3 of the Padres. I mean, if they play these shitty teams at home, I think they're fine. But on the road, yeah, they lose a couple. All right, let's see. What else? I'm still in shock from the 24-4. You should never see football-type scores in a baseball game. If they make the playoffs, they might get blown out, says CD Nation.
Depending on who they play, it's just it's better managed. It's we had to the credit of the Phillies, though, they did have Ranger Suarez, who was making his second start in the league. So I'm not really going to put the complete blame. I mean, you got a young kid on there, 22 years old. That's a lot of pressure on him. You know what I mean? He's going back and forth between that and AAA, so he let up 8 runs. There's no excuse for Mark Leiter because he's been in the bigs for a while, so he shouldn't have let up all those runs. But, Gabe was looking towards game 2 at that point when he was putting Roman Quinn in and Scott Kingery pitching at that point, because why are you going to waste arms in your bullpen when you're already down so much? You just look forward to the next game on that doubleheader.
I'm curious to see how they would fare in the playoffs because I think the initial instincts are like, that they would probably lose in the divisional series to whoever they would play. But then, like, when you really think deeper, you're like, well, these core players, these group of players, they've gone through single A, double A, triple A, and they've won everywhere they've been. So if they've won in single A, double A, triple A, why can't they win now too?
Right.
So that's like kind of the other way you can look at it. Now, I'm still going to say what I said in the beginning, though. I think they're probably going to lose their playoff series. But, who knows? Maybe they're better than I think.
I mean, we don't know. This was just a surprise year anyway. And I feel like it would be fool's gold to think that we wouldn't struggle in the playoffs because we weren't supposed to be this far ahead at this point in the season.
Exactly. Yeah. Like getting to the playoffs is such a big win for this season to jumpstart, this franchise, obviously, because they've been struggling. And to see this is great. So you have a future here. You know that it's bright, that there's something to build with. There's a foundation. And it's just hard for me to think that, that they're just going to make an immediate impact. Remember the 2007 Phillies. That was the first time they made the playoffs in a while. They got swept by the Rockies. They got trounced by the Rockies. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen, that they're going to get swept. But when a young team hits the playoffs for the first time, you normally lose.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why acquiring these older people, these older veterans could really help us out a lot. Could they possibly carry us into the second round? Of course, I don't see this team going to the World Series, but crazier stuff has happened, man. You get a team that catches fire, you could be a wildcard team and go all the way to the series. And you look at, because I'm a little bit superstitious, you look at 2008, it's 2018, you've got that 1980. Crazier stuff has happened, but, it's been a fun ride. It's been a fun season. It really has.
Sean Fitzpatrick wants to know if Mackenzie Mills was too costly to trade away for Bohr.
I don't think so. I know he was a guy that we acquired. I think we got him in the Nishak trade, I believe. He was that power arm A guy that was in single A through like 97, 98. Or was it the Nats? Either the Nats trade. I think we might have got him from the Nationals, actually. We did. But I don't think so. You got a guy that can pop, 25 to 30 home runs on a good day. He's a great pinch hitter. Also, Santana's struggling. I'd like to see Bohr play a little bit more first base than Santana. He's struggled mightily. He's hitting so power left right now. He's hitting into the shifts a lot. He's not seeing the ball well. He's made a couple errors at first base too. So give him a couple days off. Let's see what Bohr can do.
Yeah, Santana's a guy that, like, it was like, yeah, he usually starts slow, so you're just like, whatever, he started slow. And we're waiting for him to pick it up, and still hasn't happened really yet. So, I mean, it is what it is. But, yeah, if you want to play Bohr a little bit, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Also, I laugh because Sean says, I haven't bashed Kapler tonight. I'm becoming a fan, ... Oh, no. So I'm glad you're joining the dark side, Sean.
It's about time, Sean. You see what he's done? Great things. A little optimism. You know, it's. I get it. Change is hard. Change is hard to do when you're so used to seeing stuff and how stuff is done. But there's other ways to win, my man.
Yeah. Dr. Onage, CBK, 5 people are watching. Literally no one cares about the Phillies or baseball anymore. It's a shame.
It's sad. It really is. Like, it's America's pastime, bro. And you know what? I think a lot has to do with the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. So that's going to take a lot of the flavor off of this team. So if they do make the playoffs, everybody's going to be so focused on football because they're coming off the first Super Bowl win. You know, everybody's in that mode already because it's preseason. You want to see this team could easily repeat in the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting discussion. It's like why is nobody resonating towards this team now? It's like, okay, attached, I should say. Why is no one attaching themselves to this team? I think a couple things are going on. So you remember a couple years ago, like the city of Philadelphia was in a dump, basically, when it came to the sports teams. Kelly was his last year. He was on his way out. The Sixers were part of the process. The Flyers, they always make the playoffs. Well, they didn't make the playoffs, and then the Phillies were rebuilding, obviously. If this Phillies team was this during that time, I don't think it'd be as bad, obviously, because there would be attention on the Phillies. Somebody's actually winning in Philadelphia, so we're going to give it a lot of attention. Mm-hmm. Now the attention is just going elsewhere because, well, the fucking Eagles won the first Super Bowl in franchise history, and they are coming back. Everybody's just been all about the Eagles all offseason. It really has been. And this team, this Phillies team, this is the first year we're really seeing all of these faces. So we just don't know who these guys are. Like, these casual fans can't really relate yet because they just don't know who they are.
And the fact that baseball, you look at I think this has a huge part to do with it. The youth just isn't into baseball, you know? It's a slower game. Like, I love it because I played baseball and I've been into it ever since I remember watching it. But it's harder to get the younger generation interested in it because it's not as fast-paced. You look at basketball and football, they've sped it up a little bit more, the game. It's a lot of high scoring. You've got fantasy football to go in on it and stuff. And first and foremost, I feel like Philadelphia is a football town.
Yeah.
Right back. So baseball kind of falls by the wayside. It's slower, and I think the average age of a baseball fan is like 55 years old or something like that. So to get the younger generation interested in it, it's tough, and they're trying to do something about it, but it's just not there. And again, the identity too. There's no superstars on this team like the Utleys, like the Jimmy Rollinses, the Ryan Howards. There is nothing on this team just yet.
Millennials hate baseball too. It's just too slow. We have the attention spans of a 5-year-old.
Yeah,
like, literally. We can't. We're not going to sit there. But then again, it's funny that we say that because football, it's only one play every 30 seconds, and in baseball, it's one pitch every 30 seconds. But at least in one play, you get one playoff, and you move on to the next down. One pitch, you're not finished the at bat. You have to wait until the next pitch. And if the first 2 pitches, if it's just 2 balls, in a minute, it's like nothing happened. So it's like I think that's why people just don't really connect. It's just too slow. It's just too slow of a game, and then the games are going forever. We're seeing bullpen games. I mean, games that used to go 2.5, 3 hours are now going 4 hours. It's a disgrace.
And I think sabermetrics is kind of ruining the game of baseball too, because you have these shifts. You're taking away base hits. Okay, seeing home runs is nice and all. It's exciting, but I'm more into a game when there's a lot of base hits, doubles, triples. Guys are getting on base, stealing. You're more engaged in the game. And then if you do hit a home run, it's like a 3-run pop. It's like it makes it even more exciting to watch. So with these shifts, and I get it, these guys are major league professional hitters. They should be able to hit the opposite way and beat these shifts, but it just hasn't happened. I mean, you look at towards the end of Ryan Howard's career, he wasn't getting the hits he used to get because they were putting half the infield on the right side, and he just wasn't on base. And I think it's killing the game of baseball. So I think we might see a change within the next year with that. You see they sped it up where you don't, with the intentional walks, you just put your 4 fingers up now. There's a pitch clock. So they are trying different ways to speed up and make it a little bit more exciting to help, to get millennials interested in it, because we've grown up with this technology, fast paced. We want everything instantaneous now.
Yes. Yeah. All right. By the way, Dr. Onage was Call Me Dr. 96, and I do remember you. So I do remember that. All right. I'm a pie face, says literally every radio show today was about the Phillies. No Eagles talk. It shows people care, but only because people legitimately hate the sloppy play and awful management. Now, I don't listen to talk radio, to be honest, because I don't like to listen to, I don't know how to put this. I like my own opinions, and I trust my own opinions. I don't like to get steered away from what I think, so I don't listen to anybody, really. That's the way I think, but yeah.
And with radio, though, too, Adrian, they have to talk about that stuff. They're set when you're setting up, as you know, because you're starting to get in the industry now. You work with that. You have a set schedule to where you have certain pinpoints you have to talk about.
If you're working a 2-hour show, you're putting the Phillies in your last block.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially since they're good now, if they were playing poorly, they would get a little tidbit and that was it. But now that they're fighting for an NL East crown, they're going to be mentioned, of course. The radio is going to be talking about them.
I think because it was 24-4, I think that's why they were calling in. That was just a disgusting score.
To rip on Capitol, I mean, any chance, because I listen a lot less sports radio now than I used to. It depends what station you listen to. The Fanatic talks a lot of different sports. If you tune in to 94.1, that's all they talk is Eagles 24/7. It doesn't matter. During the playoffs with, the Sixers making their run, it was just Eagles talk 24/7. And it's Angelo Cataldi. It's awful. It's horrible.
Well, I just applied for a job at WIP, so I'm not going to say anything. All right. That's about it. Okay. All right. You got any final thoughts?
I do. Okay, I got a question for you.
All right.
Depending on what the Phillies do this year, depending on if they do make the playoffs or what have you, do you think that they would pursue – who do you think they would pursue heavily? Would it be Machado? Would it be Harper? Or do you think they'd go after both? Or if they do make it farther, say they do make it to the championship game, do they pursue any of those guys?
Well, they're definitely pursuing somebody, whether it's Harper or Machado. I believe they're going to pursue somebody. There was a report I read today, actually, where whether this is true or not, again, any report that you read, you have to take with a grain of salt. I mean, for real. But in this report, I don't even remember. Actually, I shouldn't even say it because I'm not even citing it because I don't even remember what it was. But like a scout basically said that they think Bryce Harper is coming to Philly. Whatever. They apparently the Phillies are just going to throw so much money at him, and he's just going to come here. I don't know. I love it, but until I see it, okay. Let's see it.
That's going to be a lot of talk. I feel too. That's what we're going to hear about until the offseason because him and Machado are free agents. So it'd definitely be a hot topic to talk about. I would rather than pursue a pitcher at that point because I think we have a really nice outfield. But if you can possibly shift Reese back to first base, because he's done okay for himself out there. It kills me seeing that guy out there because he still struggles a lot. It's because he doesn't have the foot speed to be out there. But I wonder if that's what they're going to do, if at all. If they do,
would you rather have Machado or Harper?
Would I rather have Machado or Harper? At this point in time, I'd probably have Machado because we're still have a big question mark at shortstop.
I'd agree. I would agree with you.
So it's like,
now the thing is like obviously his defensive ratings are like basically average for a shortstop as opposed to third base. But the whole at shortstop, we don't really know. But the thing is like if J.P. Crawford winds up panning out, he can just move him to third base or something. We could figure it out from there and figure out a way to like trade Franco or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's a big question mark with JP. We don't know what we have in him. He hasn't played enough games. He has struggled when he's been here, but he hasn't played enough games. He hasn't gotten his feet wet. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. And Franco's finally turned it on. This is what we expected to see out of Franco 2 years ago. And he's finally figured it out, and I love seeing it. Defensively, he's been great. And just the way he's able to have quick hands at the plate, not try to crush everything, which is what the problem with Alfaro is. He goes up there and just tries to annihilate everything. And that's what I'm hoping that Wilson Ramos can really teach him a thing or two.
Sean says, can't justify paying a 210 hitter and Harper big money. Now, here's the thing. It's like I think the 210 is an outlier, and that's why I would pay him.
Yeah. That's the other thing I want to ask you. Do you think that with the way baseball is going, too, that BA has really fallen by the wayside as well? It's not as important as it used to be because of the power numbers? Baseball
has become home runs and strikeouts.
Yeah.
It's not even baseball anymore. It's not the game that like what Whitey Herzog was like, baseball fundamentalist, and he would be hating. He wouldn't be watching this game.
No.
He's about the Baltimore chop, running, moving people over, bunting people over, about speed.
Mm-hmm.
Your first two hitters are speed guys. You get on base, you'd steal second and third. You got second and third with no outs. You basically don't even have a base hit yet because both guys hit infield singles. Like that's baseball.
Yep.
Not this crap.
Not this power game crap. They were discussing possibly Reese Hoskins being in the MVP talk, but can you justify it with his batting average being so low?
Well, I'll tell you what. If he remains this hot throughout the second half and he finishes, say, with like 40 to 45 home runs and the Phillies, say, win the NL East, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Be in the discussion.
I think he definitely should be in the discussion. I think it will be hard to beat out Freddie Freeman with the outside.
I don't think he'd win, but he'd be in the discussion.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I have another question, but I want to say that for another show.
Okay, you can say it. Unless it's like an important question that would be better for another show.
Nah, it's just about Reese and stuff. Yeah, it's just about. I'll just ask you whatever. Do you see with how hot he's getting? Do you see him being like a Howard type hitter power wise? Do you think he would actually be a 50 to 45 consistently year in and year out? Do you think he'll be that type of hitter?
I don't know if consistent 45-50, but maybe consistent 35-40.
Yeah,
something like that, and that's fine with me. And he does seem like a guy that gets hot and stretches, which is what we're seeing again. So it's last year. So.
Yeah. Okay,
all right.
Cool.
All right, that's pretty much it. Well, thank you for the 5 people that tuned in tonight. No, we had people kind of chiming in now throughout. But yeah, man, it's like baseball. Hopefully, baseball talk will pick up like when the playoffs actually start. I don't know, but just nobody cares. Nobody cares about baseball in this town, in anywhere. But it is what it is. That is Kyle Gaffner. I am Adrian Fedque. The doom and gloom of baseball is over, guys. Sorry to waste your time and the 5 viewers that watched with baseball talk. We're out of here.
Peace.